And I don't know how I got this way. I know it's not alright. So I'm breaking the habit tonight. So the new premium deck sets just came out and we have some goodies. So we're going to do Revenger today. Also, a quick shout out to 50 Card Shop. I actually picked this up from them. Got it over the weekend and I just got a chance to actually record. Check out their bundles and deals for the new divinez sets coming up and any existing cards that you're looking for. Use the code Jaime for a 5% discount as well. As you can see, it has a little thing around it and we just take that off. Open it from here. There we go. So right off the back, you see the deck box is pretty contained. Here's the deck. Comes with the deck box, as you can see. It's one of those like plastic ones too that we're used to. That's pretty much. You can use the boxes like for bulk or carry your decks as well. So let's open this guy. This is how it looks. And we open this. All right, okay, cool. Has the Shadow Paladin emblem. Yep, pretty cool. Not for the actual goodies though. As you can see, it's pretty thick. Take off the seal. There we go. All right. So as you can see, the Raging Forms, it looks like they're just commons. We have 2 Raging Fall Reverse, 2 Drag Ruler Phantom, 2 Slay Hacks. Definitely recommend 3 at least. I know some players have gone like the full playset too, but I feel like 3 is the sweet spot for Slay Hacks. They gave us 4 Tartu. It could still be applicable. The only thing that I don't like about this card is that it has to be called from hand and it uses soul, but feel free to use it. Definitely a winner here with Dark Blast. You definitely want 4 copies to be able to promote that second Vanguard attack, because you need to retire 6 Vanguards throughout the turn essentially. Ho ho, but this is the most exciting reprint, at least for me, because Mana has not been reprinted ever. I remember when this first came out many years ago. I think it was like 10 years ago now at this point. I wish they would give us 4 though. I recommend getting the 4th one for sure. We got 4 Reno, definitely play the 4, really good card. 4 Rakia, also a good card. This is typically your ideal ride target too, so that way you get a free body once you ride to grade 3. This could also get you another copy of Rakia where you can Soul Blast 2 and then revive something else that you rode with as a grade 2. So like Dark Blast, Mana, etc. You could also revive cards just in general from the drop zone, which you need. So it alleviates a lot of the pressure and stress onto like Mana or Dark Blast copies. Ify, you can play this. I have a love-hate relationship with this card. Usually when I play this, I whiff, so it's not really worth it for me. It's not guaranteed. But if you really like it, play it. Got our starter Revenger, Full Bow still the best doggo. Keter OT. This I would advocate for either the red or the blue OT, and then you might want to explore the purple and the new purple and light OTs as well. But the Keter one isn't that great because you're going to be retiring your rearguards, and by the time you attack with your Vanguard, you've already retired one of your columns typically. And then if you're not careful at the late game, you might deck out too. We got 4 copies of the crit that goes into Soul. Soul isn't as big as an issue with this deck, but it is appreciated if you have these just to play with anyway. These are definitely important, the Stride crits, because you want to keep Revenger grade 3s in your hand so you can rewrite them, and then also you need a grade 3 to pitch the cost of the superior Stride skill for Raging Wrapped. 3 PG draws. This is fine, especially if you're going to play Sanctitude. 3 PGs is what you really need. Otherwise, you can play a combination of the 30k Sentinels or even like the grade 1 Revenger PGs from the old days too, or even the CC PGs for Shadow Paladin. That's also viable. They gave us 4 grade 3 heals. I recommend trying out at least 1 Revenger heal. It's a name, and then Reno can search it and add it to your hand. And then also just being able to counter charge helps the deck in the long term. You really don't need grade 3 heals to survive, because you could thrive on 4 damage as well. So your opponent more than likely will try to keep you like at 3, maybe 2. He gave us Sanctitude, so you definitely get like something here worth getting. Now I could swap out my other proxies in my other decks with the actual Sanctitude. The other thing that's worth getting in this box is Harmonics. This card hasn't been reprinted until just now. It is a common, but still you just need this card to show and get your tickets. Now for the Errata reprint, they give us 3 Raging Wraps. Oh, there's some shiny stuff in the background. Here, let me get it out. Here's the Raging Wraps. One of them is shiny. I wish they would just make it all shiny, to be honest. That would make this deck set like a lot more better too, in my opinion. But as you can see, the Errata, here, let's take a close look. It is gigantic wall of text, right? Also, key note that you can do this when your opponent's still a grade 2 or less as a Vanguard too. You could also normally stride later on, worst case scenario, but you typically want to do the axe skill to superior stride so you can get the crests and also like the force markers. Okay, let's see more of the stride goodies. So they gave us a GB8. This doesn't really come up with at least Raging Form. Plus, it only is able to call grade 1s or less, which more than likely you've gone through it, and unless you've G-guarded to recycle a bunch of them back, this card's potential isn't that great. It may seem nice that you can retire and call and then 15k power up, but like Morfessa is still a better stride. So I at least recommend having Morfessa instead of the GB8. The Dark Knight Crow, definitely a good restander, generic as well. Just be mindful that you need to retire a certain amount of regards because your opponent needs to retire a certain amount of regards to not give you the skill, essentially. So this could be an issue using against XL decks since they go pretty wide. So just be mindful of that. Chain Ranker is another good reprint too. This lets you copy the heart, essentially, and at least it's generic, so you could just flip something else. But I do recommend getting a second copy. So you can copy Raging Form and actually just do Raging Form. And then when you ride over with the grade 3, this will just go back to G-Zone face up, essentially. Also, the GB3 thinks if you go into Raging Rap first, the next time you stride, you're already going to be GB3. So this will be live. This is a really good stride for also being on Raging Fall, where it just restands, essentially. And so you have that Vanguard pressure with the GB3 skill, where they have to call 3 or more each time they guard from hand. They give us 2 Drag Ruler Revengers. This is like the generic Revenger stride they gave us very early on in G-Era. Essentially, you'll flip this with the crest. You only really need 1 for that. And if you don't go into the crest for whatever reason, you could always stride this as a free strike type of deal if you don't have any CB. Morfessa, also another good reprint. I definitely recommend a second one just in case, but typically you can get away with 1. You won't be like in Lore where you can get multi-attack. You're still limited to 3 attacks with this deck when you go onto Morfessa. Dark Veil, good for shield. Also Soul Blasting grade 1s that are stuck in Soul. This is like one of the best G-Guards for the clan, like legitimately. In fact, it's one of my favorites because you just recycle your key pieces that you need typically. And as a reward for shuffling 5 back, you can optionally counterblast to PG. Like, what? So really great card. I recommend getting a second one so you can recycle when you need to, but then later on you can just use recycle and PG when you really need to. That was not bad. The thing about it is that it really benefits if you still have any leftover regards. As you play Raging Form, you literally empty your field, which kind of leaves it in a state where any opponents that kind of rely on you having a field, like, is an advantage for you, but then it makes like this G-Guard like less good too. So I really don't play this card, but you can play this in other like Shadow Paladin builds, and the same thing with Ludwig. Coburn's nice. It's a generic one. I've been using this in Aqua Force to help with shield, so you can try this out for yourself. They give us the tickets too, so that's nice. So along with your harmonics, you can at least get the tickets now for your other decks. So they gave us force markers. Here's the Raging Form Force 1, pretty nice artwork. Then you got Force 2 with Raging Wrapped. There we go. And then, of course, they gave us a shiny one for each. So here's the shiny one for Raging Form. There we go. Cool. And the one with Raging Wrapped. This really looks nice. We typically go Force 1 because they'll stack over time. But there are niche scenarios where you go into Force 2. This is typically if you need to first stride into Raging Fall and to the Chain Ranker. That might be a viable play to go Force 2 against like decks that can just get rid of your regards, like Kagero, for example, or even Lock, such as like Link Joker. And then, of course, lastly, the crest itself. So as you can see, this is the one that actually changes certain abilities. So the cost of Raging Wrap, essentially, this gets an additional way to pay it. You retire the 3 regards with Revenger in the name. You could still use Raging Wrap's original costs, where you Counterblast, Soul Blast, discard 2 grade 3 Abyss Dragons, Limit Break 4, and so on. But what's really nice is that the third one tells that Limit Break 4 abilities are active, even if you have 3 or less in damage, which is good. So it alleviates that cost a little bit too if you need it. Sometimes you do that to get to the 4th attack, the 4th Vanguard attack essentially, or even the 3rd Vanguard attack depending on your resources, what you have. And then of course, all the original grade 3s with Limit Break 4 just become 13k. This includes hearts. So when you stride, you're a 28k base. And then if you call any regards that are grade 3s with Limit Break 4s, now the 13ks essentially. So overall, what do I think about the new deck sets? I think they're great for any players that are trying to pick up these decks from scratch. They literally have pretty much a lot of what you need: force markers, ticket shields, harmonics, institute, and then of course the actual main core of what you need, in this case Raging Form stuff, right? Including triggers, OT, key grade 1s and grade 2s. There's might be like a few pieces that are missing from the G-Zone and even the main deck, but you can pick them up pretty cheaply on TCG Player or whatever vendors that you use. And again, I got this from 50 Card Shop. I pre-ordered this as soon as the reveals were out essentially, and it got to me pretty quickly. I just got a chance to actually record it, and I definitely recommend this for anybody. I picked this up for myself. I was actually really excited. I'm actually going to use some of these key cards for my deck that I already currently have, and then any extras I might either sell or I might just use for other decks too, like the harmonics of the ticket or even the sanctitude, for example. If you still need to pick up yours, or maybe like future bundles for Overdress or divinez in general stuff, check out 50 Card Shop. They got bundles coming up soon, and use the code Jaime to save you some money as well along the process. And then, of course, I have more affiliated links in the description below, too, however you want to support the channel. Until next time, amigos. Bye!